I'm Rory Greener from XR Today, bringing you the latest in news and conversation from the extended reality space. Today I'm joined by John A Cunningham, the recently appointed president of Virtualware USA, and he is joining me today to discuss the position and Virtualware's US expansion. So John, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate your time. Could you tell me more about your feelings joining Virtualware USA?
Well, first of all, Rory, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me today. Big fan of XR Today. Always looking forward to seeing what the latest news is. So first of all, I'm very excited in general about where we are with XR in the industry. You know, I've been kind of doing this ad hoc interview process through the VIROO Association called "Have We Reached the Tipping Point for XR?" where I talk to people and just get their perception and their feelings, right? Because you know, those of us that have been in XR for many years have been waiting for this point in time to come when XR really starts becoming ubiquitous and people start using it. And I think we're there. I think we're kind of at that point. Different industry sectors are ahead of others, but there's been a lot of breakthrough in hardware technology, in tools to help build content, and also in the outcomes that organizations are experiencing from XR. And of course, you know, Apple Vision Pro being launched in February was really a big boost to the industry and got a lot of people that hadn't been paying attention, you know, involved. So why I'm really excited about Virtualware is I've been working with Virtualware for probably 5 years, 6 years when I was in Unity, because they are they developed their platform in Unity and they're a big Unity partner. And I was always watching what they were doing and just very impressed about the level of maturity that they had as an organization about using XR, you know, for training, for collaboration in the enterprise space. And then, you know, I had a number of my colleagues and coworkers really look at the platform and say, okay, what are they doing that's unique and novel? And really, it's been about how can you reduce the time to develop content, distribute content, manage training sessions, get a lot of people in a collaborative space together, and then connect different spaces. And that's very interesting and unique. But why it's really important right now is because as enterprise looks to scale XR, they're looking for those solutions that make it easier to develop, to deploy, and to manage XR experiences. And I believe that Virtualware, the VIROO platform, is the right platform at the right time for this market. And the other thing is that I'm excited about is that, you know, they've been around for 20 years in Europe. You know, they started off in Spain and they've got a lot of very impressive customer deployments in Europe. And they recently signed a 5-year contract with GE Hitachi, which is now GE Vernova, to deploy VIROO and to create content for nuclear training. And that's scaled now across the United States. And so Virtualware is making investments. They're realizing, okay, you know, we need to invest in it, and we need to expand our business. We want to expand in the USA and in North America. And they're making investments now to leverage some of the success that they've had. So it's a very exciting time, and I'm truly honored that they've selected me to help build that business here in North America.
Fantastic, and as you say, there's a lot of opportunity there to be had, and there's a lot of scaling success within enterprise. Could you perhaps give a little bit more light into some of the perhaps pre-existing, but then also new opportunities that are existing within certain sectors, use cases,
Sure.
clients, within US regions?
So in the U.S., you know, if we look at the different industry segments that are adopting XR for training and for collaboration, you know, it's very typical of the industries where tasks are really complex, they're hard, they're dangerous. So think energy. I mean, you know, I mentioned GE Vernova. I mean, they're using XR now to train nuclear operators that have to go into power plants and move nuclear fuels. And this is scaled. This is implemented. This is no longer, hey, we're talking about it, we're thinking about it, we're piloting it. They've selected XR as their way to train people in these very dangerous and highly complex environments. So energy, utilities is definitely going to be, and has been an area that has been an adopter of XR. Other areas that I'm really excited about is manufacturing. One of the things that's happening in the United States is we're bringing a lot of manufacturing, let's call it, back to the U.S. and especially in high tech, semiconductor, things like that. And we have to train thousands and thousands of new workers that are coming into these new factories. And how do you do that? How do you train at scale for these very specific, complex jobs? Well, XR technology is really a good technology to be able to do that. So I think manufacturing is going to be, is another major focus. And then the third one, which is really exciting, is healthcare. Healthcare. It's interesting because healthcare was one of those industries where a few years ago people were talking about it, but you weren't really seeing a lot happening. Then all of a sudden, the last couple of years, things are just exploding across healthcare, and it's across all areas in healthcare. It's training, it's operations, it's in clinic, and so that is a very exciting space where XR and collaboration is really attractive. And then one other one that we're focusing on is just university, college, vocational, and K-12 education. One of the wonderful, I guess, one of the projects that we're doing that's very exciting is where we're going into these universities, colleges, and schools and installing these multi-user VR labs where faculty and students can get in there and experience new things together. It's virtual, but they're in a room together and they're able to then connect remote students and remote branches and remote faculty around collaboration and education. And so that, I'm seeing a real attractive market segment there in the general education space. So did I answer your question, Rory?
Yeah, 100%. And coming off the back of that as well, and you mentioned things like sort of training highly skilled workers, perhaps approaching skill shortages, as well as connecting classrooms. With the VIROO platform itself, how is that helping to not only accelerate US XR adoption, but then also
Right.
perhaps help out those use cases as well, more specifically based on Virtualware's technology? Perhaps imagine there's some good examples from its previously distributed regions.
Yeah. So if we go back to what does the enterprise need, right, and how is VIROO solving that? In order for any technology to scale an enterprise, it has to be secure. It has to be scalable. It has to be relatively easy to use. I mean, if you need a software engineer every time you want to do an experience or connect people, it's just not going to scale. It's going to be too hard. And because Virtualware has been in the VR business for 20 years, they developed the VIROO platform out of their own necessity. I think the last count was they did something like 500 projects in their 20 years. Including the Spanish military and Spanish rail and vocational colleges and medical, and they've got all this experience. And what they've done is they ran into the same problems over and over again, and that was the genesis of the VIROO platform. Like, how can we build something that doesn't require a software engineer to install and manage and deploy? So I think that's where the VIROO platform is enabling enterprises to finally see, okay, here's something that we can use internally that meets our own requirements. And I will tell you what's really important is that large enterprises want to be able to take their solutions and run them behind their firewall, right? They want to be able to run them securely on premises if necessary. They want to be able to leverage their own cloud installations. They don't want to be tracked into a path that the vendor says this is how you have to do it. And one of the things that Virtualware has done very rightly is to be able to give customers that option. Like, yeah, you can run it on a cloud. You can use our platform if you want and connect all your content and your experiences. Or you can take this whole stack and deploy it on a container within your own enterprise or put it on your own server. And I'm getting a lot of really positive feedback from large government agencies and manufacturers. I mean, if you're going to design a new car or a new aircraft, you're not going to trust that content to be sitting up on a public cloud. It's just not going to happen.
Brilliant. It's really insightful stuff. And just finally, before we wrap up, could you perhaps talk about some of the events that Virtualware and yourself are looking at in 2024? I think it's going to be quite a big year for announcements at those events. It already has been at places like CES and MWC. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, yeah. Look, I think if I was talking to someone the other day and said if I wanted to, I could spend every week at a different event, but we that's just not possible. So the biggest event that we're going to participate in US this year is going to be AWE. We're actually let's call it a sponsor of the Executive Focus track. This is a new track that AWE is introducing to try to get executives and business leaders that want to learn about XR, want to understand how they can deploy it in their business, but do it in an area in an arena that's not salesy, that's not too technical. And so, from an industry perspective, we believe that there's a need for this. So let's tag it on to an already well-established, recognized event like AWE, and then run a separate track where we can curate content and experiences for these, non-XR executives. So that's going to be very exciting. And then after that, we have a couple other smaller events, and then we're going to get to ITSEC, which is the big military modeling and simulation conference in November. I'm really excited by that because, defense and aerospace has been one of the early adopters of XR technology, and I think it's only going to accelerate now as the defense industry looks to integrate a lot of its suppliers and partners into their infrastructure. So I think there's now that's just US, right? I'm just talking about the US. What I'm tracking is AWE, ITSEC, and then a few smaller conferences in between.
Fantastic, cool. And just to wrap up, what's the best way for listeners to learn more?
Sure. I first of all, I go to our website, which is www.virtualwareco.com, virtualwareco.com, or just Google Virtualware. Lots of good information, articles, videos, and things like that.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time today, John.
Yeah, thank you, Rory. Have a good week.
Great. That's it from me. You can get more XR news by subscribing to the XR Today news channel and by following our social pages. Thank you so much for watching.